Hi everyone, and welcome back once again to The Library is Open. So I hope you've brought your library cards, my darlings. Today's extra special, not extra special, just special. We'll save extra special for something else. Like, I don't know, a planetary alignment or something. Yes, today's episode. See, I go off on these tangents and then I don't know. Today's episode is something I've decided to do, which they're pretty popular on the BookTube community, and it is one of the book tags. So tags are things, normally videos that booktubers do, and they I'm sorry, I'm just finding the information. They are tagged in by other booktubers, where there are like a series of questions or provocations and stuff, and then you're sort of tasked to answer them. Just a little précis there. Now, I haven't been tagged by anybody or anything like that, but I thought, why should that stop me? I'm going to do it anyway, just because I think it's really nice and an interesting way to get to know me a little better if you don't know me that well. And, you know, it might prove for an interesting debate in the comments, because I'm going to leave the questions that I have to answer in the description of the video, and then maybe you could answer some of them as well in either a return video, or you could just answer them in the comments via text, and that would be cool. So there are, how many questions are there? There are 14 questions. Can she do this without waffling? Well, let's find out, shall we? So here we go with the book addiction tag. And these are the questions. So question 1 is, what is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? Ooh, that's a hard one. Longest time I can comfortably go. Okay, let's take out of the way exceptional circumstances or anything like that. But I'm gonna say that I have to pick up a book at least once a day. At the very least, once a day. I think I would have some kind of withdrawal, maybe, if that doesn't sound too dramatic, without picking something up. Just something to do with the tactility feels like a necessity to me. Even if it's just, you know, to hold something in my hand or sniff it. You know, I love to sniff my books. Book sniffers unite. Kelly Cockcroft knows. From Kelly's Simple Life. But yeah, I'm going to say a couple of hours max. Number 2, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device, at any one time? Device is difficult because, you know, I have a ebook app on my phone, so theoretically hundreds, although I'm trying not to store too many, like, permanently on my phone, because I think it eats away at your energy on your battery and stuff like that, and also the space. But how many books do I carry on my person? I'm going to say at least one. I don't think I'm that excessive, but it depends how far I am into the book. Like, if I am, you know, over 3/4 of the way, and I will probably have 2 with me, just in case I finish one. Although, again, that's more like when we're not in the current situation that we're in at the moment. So I'd be commuting a lot more on trains and things like that. But I'll say at least one. And then, obviously, on my phone, there are infinite numbers. Question 3. Do you keep every book you buy/receive, or are you happy to pass them on to make space for more? That's interesting. A couple of months ago, I probably would have said keep all, but I have been unhauling and giving things on, passing them on to charity shops and so on and so forth for other people to enjoy. So I think I would say I'm happy to pass them on if I don't feel like I need them to still be with me, if that makes sense. You know, there are certain books that I keep that maybe I don't reread over and over again, but I need them near me. Sounds very odd, I'm sure, but yeah, so within reason, happy to pass them on if I've taken what I think I can take from them, and it's time to let them go. So yeah, but I do spend a fair bit of time with them first, though, just to make sure. Okay. Number 4, how long would you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? Again, outside of, you know, Schmarona Schmirus, thank you, Paul, from Val's Vegan Guys, for that. Fungalitis McGee. Oh, God. I'm going to say about an hour. I just love being in bookshops, you know. There was, when I was a teenager, and sort of first, it's quite a young teenager, and first started sort of going out on my own and stuff like that, I used to go to the Waterstones, would it have been that then? Whatever it was, on Deansgate in Manchester, and just spend a lot of time there, just being with the books and so on and so forth. You know, it always seemed to me like, particularly in books, particularly in shops in like large cities, Foyles is the same on Charing Cross Road in London, where you step in and they're like an oasis. You know, you sort of don't feel like you're in the city anymore. You feel like you've been transported somewhere quite tranquil. Particularly the second floor of the Waterstones on Deansgate feels like another world, and I just love that. I feel a very great sense of calm and relaxation and de-stressing. There's that sort of breathing out. So I'll say about an hour to be conservative, but I might make multiple visits, so I don't know. Question 5: How much time per day do you actually spend reading? And that's an interesting one, because again, I think that's really situational and depends. Like on my commutes, I would say probably an hour and a half during the day, and then probably about an hour at night. But at the moment, it can be anything from probably a minimum half an hour up to a maximum of like 4 hours straight or something. Sometimes I really get into the zone. And then I'm sure this is true of everybody who reads or does anything, you know, sometimes you're just, I don't want to say paying lip service, but you're just sort of, I'm reading because I want to read, but I'm not properly in the zone with it. I usually read for about an hour and a quarter, something like that at night when I get into bed. So I'm trying to cut down my screen time before sleeping so I'm not overstimulated. So get comfy with a brew and then have a good hour and a quarter. So I'm going to say anywhere between half an hour and, conservatively, let's go 2.5 hours, something like that. It's also different when I don't have work. I've got a fair bit of planning and stuff on at the moment, so that obviously changes. Okay, question 6. Where does the task picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? Well, I guess that's similar to the above in some respects. In the sense that it is always on there, whether it's literally written there, it is definitely there in my head. So it is definitely there, and I will probably, usually first thing in the morning, I'll pick a book up and read, just to sort of come round for a little bit while I have a cup of tea, and then definitely at night. So any time in the middle is kind of unscheduled reading. So I guess there is a kind of to-do list, but it doesn't ever feel like an obligation, I suppose. Not consciously, anyway. Question 7. How many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? There's no way I can include ebooks. I don't know how that would ever be quantified, because obviously with the app, you know, there's free ones you can download, and you know, there's things on my Kindle app that I've transported from other formats into there. Shelf-wise, God, I can't even guess. I'm just going to say a silly number and hope for the best. I'm going to say a couple of hundred, which actually, come to think of it, given my ridiculous addiction, I don't think that's that bad. And maybe that number will shift, as I say, as I start to get more comfortable with unhauling things that I don't want to keep around me anymore. So maybe that's something. I don't know. I'm going to say a couple of hundred. I can't be exact. Sorry. I was going to say I'll go around and count them all, and I'm like, I won't do that. So let's say a couple of hundred. Question 8. Approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? As often as possible. No, but seriously, a lot of times I think probably my friends and colleagues would say that this phrase kind of peppers my conversation a lot. Oh, I was reading about, or so I was just reading, or oh, I've been thinking about, because in my book, but I don't think I do it sort of consciously to sort of say, oh, I've been reading, blah, blah, blah. It's more sort of that oftentimes what I'm reading will make me think of things, particularly when I'm writing, or sometimes when I'm devising lesson plans and so on and so forth, or lectures, I'll go, oh, this is actually really interesting, because I think sometimes you can find things in books that speak to an issue that you're trying to communicate or discuss, either with students or colleagues or even friends, and it's just a nice sort of accessible way to do it. I'll give you an example. So I was reading a book by Juliet Singh a few weeks ago, months ago, called No Archive Will Restore You, and she had an essay all about the fact that our bodies are essentially an archive of our experiences. And I thought, oh, that's a really great way to talk about the use of the self in performance for one of the acting classes that I teach. So you know, I use that as an example, and sometimes just putting it in a different way rather than very sort of stiffly, you know, not theoretical, but more sort of just in different terms can communicate what you want to communicate, and effective communication can come like that. You know, that's what I think. Question 9. What is the biggest book, page count, you have finished reading? Oh God, I have to do a quick comparison now. I just need to do some Googling, because I think it's going to be a toss-up between... Oh, okay, it's not that. I'm going to say it is Lucy Ellmann's Ducks Newburyport, which I have talked about on the channel before, which is 1030. I'm gonna say that's probably the biggest book in terms of page count that I've read. Which it felt like a little bit of a daunting task at first, but it was because it's quite weighty. It's like a brick. It's like a small child. Not that children are bricks, but you get the idea. You know, it has a weight and a significance to it. But yeah, I managed that okay. So, but I think that's probably the biggest. There could be others, but I'm not thinking. The other one I was thinking of was Samantha Shannon's Priory of the Orange Tree, but it turns out that's 800 pages. I've just done a little Google. Other search engines are available. But yeah, Ducks Newburyport, that's what I'm going to say. And it was jolly good. Okay, question 9, or 10 even. Is there a book you had to get your hands on against all costs, against all odds? Searched bookstore, online digging, stalked author, etc. Stalked author, that seems a bit... dodge. No, I don't think out of normal channels, e.g. going online or contacting a bookstore, I don't think there's ever been anyone that I felt an absolute burning desire to possess at that moment. I suppose it's different as well, isn't it? Particularly now, it's fairly easy to track down things unless they're like old special editions and so on and so forth. Maybe the exception would be the winter edition of Pride and Prejudice, which was published by let's check the name of the company so I'm not lying to you. Seasonal editions they were. I think it's Thomas Nelson Fiction published seasonal editions, and they're quite a low print count. I think they made 10,000 copies of each, and as you know, Pride and Prejudice is my favourite. So I tracked it down online, and there were only 3 copies that I could find that were available in the UK. So I suppose that's probably the closest, but as a general rule, not so much. Don't stalk authors either, because that's weird. Question 11. Is there a book you struggled to finish because you refused to DNF? So DNF in like BookTube terms is did not finish, basically. No, I think, generally speaking, I don't believe in finishing things that you don't want to finish, or that you don't have to finish, you know, for work or for you know, a sort of obligation to college, university, whatever. There have been books obviously that are harder to get into than others, but then again, that can also be something about where my head's at the time. Probably the closest will be, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, so I don't want it to sound awful, to the author, who I do respect, obviously, as a writer, Probably the most recent example would be Thinner Than Skin by Uzma Aslam Khan, mostly because it got really nice reviews about the prose, which is beautiful, but it just didn't hold my attention. But by the time I got to the point where I was really aware that I wasn't feeling where it was going, I was over halfway through, so I thought I might as well just do it, get on with it, and get to the end so I can make an informed judgment. But that's probably the closest. As a general rule, if I'm not enjoying after a certain point, I will DNF. Because why wouldn't you? You know, life is too short to enjoy things that you don't enjoy if you don't have to. There. Number 12. What are some of your main book goals for the year? Well, the final few months of the year, I suppose. I don't think I have specific goals. I think it'd be really nice to get my to be read pile down because it's quite large at the moment. I think probably to continue. It's quite an open goal, really. Open goal. To continue to stay open to new experiences and reading. Not to write things off. Never to get snobby about books or popularism and things like that. Like, not to be sort of snooty about it, because what's the point of that? Books are there to be enjoyed. To keep diversifying further my reading, but without paying lip service to tokenism. So, you know, that sort of idea of reading widely, but not doing it for show. It has to be because I genuinely want to. Because otherwise I don't think performative acts of any kind are particularly useful. So, yeah, I suppose that. Question 13, we're on the last two now. Have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader? Converting someone? No, but I don't think I would try. Forcefully, I will always advocate for reading and, you know, and recommend things that I think people might like. I think oftentimes, you know, it's just about, people say they don't like something. Maybe they don't, but oftentimes it's because it's being presented a certain way, or they feel like it isn't for them, or they feel like, you know, what they've experienced so far hasn't spoken to them. There will probably be something out there. But I wouldn't necessarily say I was converting someone per se. I think oftentimes, just through conversation, I've encouraged people to read more or pick up specific books if I think they'll like them. But I don't know. Although you never know. Maybe there is someone out there who, you know, has felt converted or through my subconscious. I don't know. Converted is just such a strange word, isn't it? I'm not sure how that would really work, but what I hope for is that I've inspired people to find things that speak to them and not to be, you know, ashamed of what they read, I suppose. I know some people sometimes say, oh, I read a lot of this, it's not proper books. They're all proper books. It does not matter. You should read what you enjoy, not what you think you're supposed to. That's my two penneth. And the last question, question 14, describe what books mean to you in 5 words. Oh, wow. You think I would have prepared an answer, wouldn't you? Just off the top of my head, 5 words, what books mean to me. The world's in my head. I say worlds plural, meaning not just Earth. Yeah, the world's in my head. That give me access to things I would otherwise know nothing about. And help me appreciate them. Yeah. Books. It's like an advert, isn't it? Books. The world's in my head. So that was the book addiction tag. I'm going to do a couple more of these tags, I think, because I've actually quite enjoyed this. I think it's nice. I won't do loads and loads of tags, but just ones that kind of appeal to me, that feature topics or books that I want to talk about. Why not sound off in the comments about your answers? You don't have to do all the questions. You could just do a couple of questions, or, you know, put forward your own opinions on You know, how often do you read? How often would you spend in a bookshop? Have you ever converted someone to reading? Or what about describe what books mean to you in 5 words? That'd be really nice, wouldn't it? We could have like a list of like, what's the word? Language don't fail me now. Like maxims or mantras or something all about reading. That'd be lovely. So that has been The Library is Open, but it's now closed because we're closing our day today. So put your library cards somewhere safe. And thank you so much for joining me. Give this a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Or don't, that's entirely up to you. Stay safe out there, everybody. Look after yourselves. Keep turning those pages. Sniff as many books as you like. But don't be vulgar. And I will see you in the next episode. Mwah.